Hello and welcome back to Off The Crossbar Euros Watch with myself, Regan Walsh, and as ever, my co-presenter is finally back, Brad, for day 15.
Did you miss me?
Not too much, because I managed to do, a 15.5 minute chat on my own about the games and previewing yesterday's one, so didn't miss you too much.
And the one viewer was pissed.
Yes.
I'm back to bring some of the humour back.
Definitely. So, yesterday saw the Netherlands take on the Czech Republic and Belgium take on Portugal. We start off with the Dutch versus Czech Republic. Not the most entertaining first halves.
I fell asleep.
Yeah,
I can't lie. Fell asleep. Thank God the second half turned up.
Yeah, both teams had chances, but nothing threatening either keeper. And then, my gosh, does this second half take a turn? We're 10 minutes in, and Matthijs de Ligt is shown a red card.
Before it was all stuff out that this game kicked off in just fire. Both teams came out just with chosen death.
Yeah.
Like the tackles, just.
He's just absolute pandemonium.
And then I thought he was back in the Premier League.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the red card when you initially saw it before we went to all this VAR and all that?
My first thoughts were, how on earth was he not originally given a red card? Because it's handball.
Yeah.
And the striker was through.
Yeah. I think if his hand doesn't move towards the ball in the way that he did, and he just goes to do the natural falling motion, I don't think that's given as a handball. And I think maybe the Netherlands are given a free kick, but because you see his hand go towards the ball,
it's like he swats it away.
Yeah, he's like he was playing handball and he just tries to swat it away.
He's trying to kick the ball in the basketball court.
Yeah. So VAR made the correct decision, and then after that, it was just pure domination from Czech Republic the rest of the game.
Yeah, they've certainly taken the mantle of dark horses and underdogs. They've caused the shock of the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, we say the shock of the tournament, but did we not have Netherlands going out in the last 16?
Well, we did, and what I want to talk about before
we had them going out to a Group D team in the last 16, so.
Yes.
Just ignore who we said. We said a Group D team was going to knock them out.
Yes. What I don't understand, and from what I've seen, I may not be fully correct, and obviously to the translation, but a lot of Dutch people don't understand why he started Daniel Marlon, because him and Memphis Depay are very similar in their ways, and then when De Ligt got sent off, he brought on Quincy Promes. Why wouldn't you bring on a defender in that case? Because looking at the Netherlands bench, why didn't Nathan Ake come on?
Oh, Timber, as he started the first game when De Ligt wasn't there.
Yeah. But it just seemed to cause a lot of confusion.
Who played usually instead of Daniel Milan? Yeah, I forgot.
Weghorst.
Was Weghorst, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't come on to the end, which was a bit weird.
Yeah, it was like he came on with 15 minutes left, and
with the Dutch, there's no fighter.
Yeah,
the intensity that they showed. The wing backs still pretty similar, but they were taken out of it a little bit,
massively, and it just the creativity just seemed to disappear straight away after that red card. Yeah. You'd think, even I know many people question the substitution and all that, and technically they could still play 3 at the back if they put Dumfries or Van Aanholt alongside Blind and De Vrij. But yeah, as soon as that red card, it seemed all life to be sucked out of them.
That's what it felt like. Because I didn't get to speak about the other 2 games, yes, the day before. It was similar to how Italy were.
A bit, yeah. I gave a lot of credit to Austria and how they seemed to perform. They managed to Italy dominated that first half, but Austria just grew into it, and I was saying like it was going to go either one or two ways in that second half. Either Italy were just going to continue to dominate and eventually break down the Austrian defence, or Austria could end up counter-attacking and score it. And obviously, the Arnautovic goal before it was ruled out for offside was in that case, and it had a very similar feeling to this game for the Dutch. And Thomas Hollers opened the scoring with 20 minutes to go. What were your thoughts on the goal?
Just the most Czech goal we've seen the whole tournament. Set piece, pretty much.
Yeah.
Ball goes in, they win 2 headers.
Yeah. I mean...
But we know where your abuse is going to lie, so...
It's just... Before the corner's taken, you see Patrick Van Aanholt on the corner, on this, goal post. So he's not marking anyone. Okay, some keepers like having their wing backs on the post, others don't. He then moves as the ball's coming across off the goalpost, and it leaves that area exposed, and that's where the ball goes from Hollers' header. And if it fucking stays there, it doesn't go in. Like if I'm Stekelenburg in goal there, I'm absolutely fuming at Van Aanholt. That's the way you're moving off the post. Just stay there until the ball's fully cleared.
Well, yeah, you would, but I don't think Stekelenburg has earned the right to
No.
escape the fury. He did drop a bit of a clanger at one point. The whole Dutch team was just poor in that game, and Czech Republic did what they needed to do.
And thoroughly deserved to go through. A second goal coming 10 minutes from time with Patrick Schick getting his 4th goal of the tournament. I mean, Wijnaldum just getting the ball nicked off him, and then they just go on to score past Stekelenburg in the bottom left corner. It was just very easy then, that last 10 minutes.
Yeah, but when that second one up, I just thought, they're not going to score.
Yeah. Well, I think a stat came up, but I think it was in between the 2 goals, that the Netherlands didn't have a single attempt on goal in the second half.
No, I don't think they did.
Well, I'm just looking.
Well, does Daniel Malan running at the goalkeeper count?
No, because I'm looking now. They had 6 total shots in the 90 minutes, not one on target.
Yeah, it's not great. Considering Daniel Malan was 1-on-1 per keeper as well, he should have buried it.
Yeah.
In that situation, surely you go your left, almost away from the goal, not right towards it, essentially.
Oh, 100%. That is what you do. But I think that's inexperience for him as to why he did
Or you just finish it.
Oh, yeah. So the Czech Republic obviously advanced through to the quarter-final stage, which will take place their quarter-final on Saturday against Denmark at 5 o'clock over in the Baku Olympic Stadium, obviously in Azerbaijan. I think there's going to be a lot of questions over De Boer's future now in terms of leading the Netherlands.
I wouldn't be supposed to be the sector.
I don't know if it will necessarily be today, but I think over the coming weeks and months, you'll see he won't be leading them into the latter stages of qualifying for next year's World Cup, or actually at the World Cup should they qualify.
And if there's anything to end this on, it's Jose Mourinho is somewhere smiling.
On to the second game, and it was arguably the biggest game that we've had so far in the knockout rounds in Seville, as Belgium took on Portugal.
This went exactly as we could have predicted it.
No, I mean, we were thinking this could go like being one of the best games of the tournament, like Portugal's last group game, but that first half just didn't live up to it at all.
Knockout football, you don't get the excitement of the group stages when there isn't as much on the line.
Yeah, but
the first 20 minutes was obvious. They were just like passing it to one another and just like, oh, how are they set up here? What are we gonna do?
Yeah,
sizing the ball. It's like you don't do that for the first half an hour, lads.
Surely you've worked them out by now. First 5-6 minutes of the game, and then you're like, okay, this is how they're going to be set up. Here's what we do, how to break it down. But 20 minutes, half an hour, you're bringing it on to bore everyone at this rate.
It's like sizing your opponent up in a boxing match for the first 6 rounds of a 12-round fight.
Yeah. Everyone's lost interest. However, the interest was regained shortly before half-time after a Thorgan Hazard wonder goal. Oh my God, what a goal that was.
Maybe less of the wonder, but it was a good goal. And Rui Patricio was caught out massively.
Yeah. It's just incredible to see from Hazard. Obviously, the lesser known of the two Hazards, because obviously never playing over here.
But he's the better of the two Hazards now.
Exactly. And I don't know whether you saw that tweet that I did, tweeting as an Eden Hazard tweet from, I think, about 6-7 years ago, where Eden Hazard himself goes, he's better than him. Because they did say that on commentary as well. He used to say that Thorgan and his younger brother, Thorgan and his younger brother Killian were better than him.
It's just cliche City, that commentary. Did you have it muted?
I think it was one of them where I had it on, but I wasn't really paying attention to it.
I sadly was, and I genuinely think it was somehow worse than some of the jokes I've seen you come out with.
Oh God, because it was. Who was in commentary again?
Sam Matterbass and Lee Dixon.
Yes, that was it. I know you said Ali McCoy, but he was on the first game.
I know. So, why would you waste him on that one?
I know, and you don't even have him with. And you didn't even have him with Clyde Tildesley as well. That's just what ruined it all.
It's a big slap in the face, that.
Yeah. Second half, though, Jesus Christ, was this Royal Rumble or something? The amount of tackles just flying in.
Hey, Pepe was up for it. That's all that matters.
Pepe's always going to be up for anything.
Pepe will happily take a yellow card over a goal any day.
Oh, exactly. I mean, there was this one photo going around of him just smiling after he received the yellow card.
What?
I haven't done anything.
It was in the way.
And you're just like, yeah, I think it brought the feistiness to the second half. But again, I don't think either keeper was really tested that much.
No, I wouldn't say so.
I mean, Portugal had a couple free kicks throughout the game.
Maybe because they caused far towards the end.
Yeah, he made a few good saves. But nothing really you'd say, oh, this is going to be Belgium or on the line, or Portugal really need to get a goal here. Kevin De Bruyne obviously having to go off injured early on in the second half.
Can't get it right, that bloke.
Yeah, and then Hazard going off late on for Belgium as well with another injury. Let's hope they aren't too serious.
I don't think he was injured. I just think he didn't want to do it in defending.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, we're sat back. Nope. That's shit.
Yes. In terms of Portugal, though, it's a really poor tournament. You got to say for Bruno Fernandes, and Diogo Jota.
What summed up Bruno Fernandes so perfectly was the moment he was coming on. He was already moaning at the referee about a tackle.
Yeah.
He was on the bench just going, "Why is that on?" Bruno Fernandes is my dad's most hated player. I've never seen my dad rack a player like.
Really?
It's funny. It's so funny. Just hates him.
Yeah, I think it's. I think I saw. I think it was The Athletic did a column. Might have been before the game or the day before, and they were saying he just doesn't seem to fit into this Portugal system, and it's right.
Yeah, we spoke about this where we previewed the whole tournament. There's something with the Portugal setup. Like you can only play a certain one of him or Bernardo Silva for it to work. They tried two of them in the
opening couple of group games. First two, wasn't it?
It was the win against Hungary.
Yes.
And did that, for 80 minutes, that wasn't working.
No.
I think they took one of them off, and then they obviously won 3-0.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting in the future now. Obviously, there was a lot of talk saying it's possibly Ronaldo's last ever Euros, but I think going forward, that is something they really need to look into, is how can they get Bernardo and Bruno playing together? Does Fernando Santos have to completely change up his system?
I don't think it's going to be Fernando Santos that does it. I think he's probably done.
Yeah.
You'd think so.
I wouldn't be surprised on that.
been there long enough, and they've gone out in the last 16, which would be seen as a massive disappointment.
Oh yeah, considering they were the winners last year.
Like, people rated, or we rated them. Like, you didn't rate them, which is why they weren't. I rated them, but
yeah, that's what I said. They were lucky last time around with all this third place rubbish and how it goes. And I don't know whether it was me just looking at that forward line going, there just isn't something, what do you call it? They didn't seem to be the quality of a team.
They don't click together. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah.
Like, they're phenomenal players, but they just don't work as a team.
Yeah, it's the story of English football for the last 20 years.
Yeah. But credit to Belgium, they have obviously set up a quarter-final tie with Italy that will take place on Friday at the Allianz Arena in Munich. So this could be an absolutely beautiful game.
I'll tell you to an old Spanish bloke, give me the sinister music behind me.
That is definitely Italy. Oh, it's going to be absolutely crazy. Right.
Well, nothing's going to happen for the first half an hour, so...
Well, yeah, I think maybe the first half, nothing's going to happen.
No pens. Cool.
Oh, Jesus, please don't do that. Looking at today's game, starting off at 5 o'clock, Croatia versus Spain from Copenhagen. Spain haven't really got going at this tournament so far. I mean, yes, we said they won their last group game 5-0, was it? But they haven't really played that entertainingly because that was a poor Slovakia team. And Croatia just about got through in Group D based on who they beat in our group. That's how they managed to get through as a second place team.
It's a difficult one to make out because obviously Spain have been less than convincing for the majority of this tournament. Croatia, you could always put in the same category, but they are also going to be missing Ivan Perisic because of COVID. He's a very key player for them.
Yeah, I mean, they are now really heavily relying on Luka Modric to help lead them through. Because, I mean, without Perisic, I mean, they still have Ante Rebic to lead the line. And obviously got Brozovic as well and Mateo Kovacic alongside Luka Modric. But even Perisic does give you that something else different to that them few players that we've mentioned.
Yeah, and for Spain, there's not much has changed. It's very much just finding out who's going to lead the line. Do they stick with Moreno and Morata together? Does Morata get a game? He should. I mean, Morata will. I just look at Spain's options and their depth, and I think, well, they ain't got much.
No, it's. I don't know what we've said previously on the round of 16 preview, but now I
believe predictions. We had this exact game, and we did say Croatia.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Obviously, situations have sort of changed slightly.
See, I don't think it has really that much. I'm still sticking with Croatia to not. They just Spain haven't been there at this tournament for me so far.
You said the same, both.
Yeah, let's hope Luka Modric can score another beautiful goal like he did in Croatia's last game.
Please.
Yes. The late game, sorry, not the latter game. The late game at 8 o'clock from Bucharest sees France take on Switzerland. We said this in the preview of the round of 16. It should be France heavily dominating this game.
It should be. Not to say it's going to happen.
Yes.
The Swiss. I don't even want to say that it'll be Switzerland camping in their own half, but France just attack after attack, because that's not France's way. France likes to be the team to sit back and just soak it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should comfortably win this. It'd be nice if they got knocked out.
Well, yeah, in terms of making it easier for England, but should they beat Germany? But
we're not speaking. All the people getting carried away after that Dutch result yesterday. Just calm down. We haven't won yet.
Exactly. Switzerland, obviously, we've talked about some of their threats in that squad. Breel and Bolo, who's had an up and down tournament so far for them, but he's looked okay. Haris Seferovic, I think he's been one of their best players. Mario Gavranovic could potentially have been the top goal scorer if he stayed on side for. I think he's had 2 or 3 disallowed goals so far in this tournament.
Yeah, poor guy. I don't forget, Xherdan Shaqiri will almost certainly try and have a say in this.
Yeah. Before we do predictions, how long do you think it is before Granit Xhaka gets a yellow card for fouling Pogba or Kante?
How many yellows has he had in this tournament? I don't think he's had one.
Shut up. He has had to have had one.
I just don't remember. That's something I was particularly looking to.
One. He's only had one.
Yeah, one.
I think this is a game he would get booked.
What is this Super 6? You got a bet on it? Are you asking me for advice?
No, but it's Granit Xhaka though. We all know he's going to get booked.
I will say 52.
52. I'm going to go within the first 18 minutes.
Good lord.
Yeah. Looking back at my predictions from yesterday, I was wrong with the first game because I had the Netherlands going through, but I was correct with picking Belgium to beat Portugal. So that is all good. Today's games, what are you going to go for?
I'll go for Spain on penalties, to be exact.
Okay.
And I think France will beat Switzerland.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you with the France game, but I think Croatia win in extra time. Right, other stuff without the Euros. Actually been quite a busy few days in terms of transfer news. PSG seem to... Go on.
I was to say it's sort of picking up. The Villa is spoiling again.
Yes. Achraf Hakimi is close to signing for PSG on a 5-year deal, set to be in Paris. I think today's set to be the rumours to undergo his medical. So 70 million to 71 million euros is the fee there. Arsenal are looking at Nuno Tavares of Benfica, as well as Napoli and Lazio. However, Benfica are expecting to be asking around 15 to 17 million euros. Aston Villa have this morning apparently made a second bid for Emile Smith-Rowe of Arsenal. However, it has been rejected by the Gunners, who are trying to get Smith-Rowe to sign a new contract. What are your thoughts on that?
Why would we be bidding twice if he wasn't at least somewhat interested? There's a lot to this, I feel.
Yeah, I think...
I still don't think we sold him. If we do,
no.
Oh my god.
It'd be a really...
All these times, he's not a Jack Grealish replacement.
Yeah. Elsewhere,
We're taking over.
Rui Patricio is set to leave Wolves and join AS Roma, with Jose Sarr of Olympiacos set to be Patricio's replacement. Brahim Diaz will join AC Milan on loan with the buy option. And Real will think on having a buyback clause between 30 to 31 million euros. There's no new news on the Jadon Sancho situation, but I think should England head out tomorrow, or when they head out, that's when you'd expect that deal to heat up. As like with many deals, you'd expect them to pick up when teams start fully going out of the Euros and as teams start coming back for pre-season.
Quick thoughts on the rumours with Camavinga as well?
Yeah, he's a really good player at Rennes. However, it's his position. I think he's more of that attacking, creative midfielder.
Whereas United, you need the defensive midfielder. Because as we've said at this tournament, Pogba, when he's not playing in your defensive role, he's on a run.
Yeah, and for someone in that defensive midfield, obviously, most people would think Declan Rice, Jorginho, Kante. Obviously, they're not going to be possible. They're not going to be possible to buy this tournament. But I would look at someone like Miners of I think it's AZ Alkmaar.
Isn't Renato Sanchez defensive mid?
I think he's very good and has a promising future, but I don't think United are really going to be making a move for a defensive midfielder. I think Sancho will be done and dusted. I think it, like many people would believe, it's just a matter of when and not if. And then I think this fellow centre-back partnership for Harry Maguire, I think, is going to be the other thing that's going to be addressed, whether that's obviously unlikely to be Sergio Ramos as a free agent, but there's him. There's obviously a lot of talk been around Rafa Varane wanting a new challenge after 10 years at Real Madrid. So it'd be interesting to see what United do. But yeah, if we could get Camavinga, I think it'd be a good buy. But it's one of them that it doesn't really fill our needs as much.
If you want a centre back, I hear Ben White's available on a reasonable fee.
Jeez, 50 million? Is it? They're nearly agreed.
Oh, it's mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's 50 million, how much is Ezri Konsa?
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of the England squad, mainly Bukayo Saka.
Bukayo Saka. How do you not get this? He would still to this day.
Okay, we'll just call him Saka. And what's the blonde-haired lad called? Phil Foden. I can't think of his name for a second. Yeah, Miley Cyrus. Apparently, them two have been really impressed with Ben White in the England camp so far. So I don't know whether that's just them hyping him up or
we
whether
don't
he
doubt
actually
that
has
he's
been
a good player. Like, no point do we doubt he's a good centre back. It's just the price is a bit mental.
Yeah, I think, like many people say, because he's English, he plays in the Premier League, so that automatically adds on like another 10, 15 million onto any deal, which is crazy. But yeah, we expect these transfers and all that stuff to heat up over the next couple of weeks as we come towards the end of the Euros and the new season beckons. Right, that is all the talking points, isn't it?
Yes, this has been the longest one so far. This is what happens when I'm here.
We'll be back tomorrow to round up today's games and look at the final set of round of 16 action. And that is it. Until then, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Brad.
See ya.
And we'll see you soon.